Hi, and welcome to another episode where I'm going to be doing figure drawing, 5-minute poses. Hi, my name is Escobar. I'm a storyboard artist on the Simpsons television show. I've been working on the show for over 25 years now, and I'm here to empower you. So again, this time around, this is the second video that I've done when I'm doing two 5-minute poses. And mostly it's so that I could show you the process, the thinking process. I'm also not going to be trying to censor myself when I'm doing these sort of things. I'm going to make sure that I draw what I draw, whether or not I mess up or I don't, whether or not it comes out the way I want or not. And that's the entire point. That's the point of these figure drawings. Sometimes you just fail. And the important part of failing when you are doing these figure drawings is to learn from them, right? Like you go, okay, well, maybe I could have approached this different. I could have done this. This is why it didn't work this time. But the best part is that you're doing a lot of them. That's the entire point. So, for example, if I was doing this in a figure drawing environment, a figure drawing class, or in a workshop, most likely these 5-minute poses wouldn't be just 2 5-minute poses. They would be 5 5-minute poses, and then there would be a break, and then maybe another 5 5-minute poses. And the point is iteration, doing it over and over and over, and then learning from your mistakes, and then moving on as fast as possible, and just keep going and keep going. The more you do it, while analyzing what you're doing as you're doing it, and seeing where you're weak at and where your weaknesses are and whatever, and then maybe after the session you go and you study anatomy, or you study construction, or you practice arms, legs, heads, whatever it is on your own. Then you come back and you apply them into your figure drawing. That's the important part. The important part is part of it is the testing of your ability, learning from your mistakes, but also the iteration of building on what you may or may not seen working from the previous drawing. So the more you do, the better you get. So you want to do this often, as much as possible. You want them to be short so that you're not spending hours on one thing, because if you mess up a 2-hour drawing, it's going to take you longer to learn all the lessons than if you do the exact same mistake in a 5-minute drawing. You learn from it immediately, and then you move on to the next one. And if you make another mistake, you learn from that one immediately, and it's much easier than spending 2 hours just to learn one thing, right? You learn multiple things within 30 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever it is. So let's get started on these 5-minute poses. All right, so as I did in the last video that I did with the 5 minutes, I am now going to set my timer for 5 minutes. And here we go. Just wasted time not having my layer ready. You just never know when you're going to mess up immediately. So so unlike the last time that I messed up the gesture, I'm going to push the gesture further than it really is. I'm going to try to keep these rhythms together. I'm also going to, I just finished doing the 2 minutes, and part of the balance from you don't want to over extend the head so that it's off balance. You want to have a pendulum from the head to somewhere in between both legs, because otherwise the person will just fall over, because that's not how balance works. So you have to keep that in mind. Even if you're exaggerating, you got to make sure to not overdo it to the point where you're screwing it up. I'm being a lot messier than I was in the last 5-minute drawing thing, because I learned my lesson from trying to be too clean and pretty in the last video that I did 5-minute drawings in. Sometimes it's okay to be a little bit messier. And here we have the breasts here, navel, hips that come across and around. And I think I'm going to start adding a little bit of values in here. And even at this point, I just want very simple. The lighting in this is such that it takes up a lot of the pose. So if I don't put some value in here, it just doesn't feel as if I'm capturing this particular pose. And we have kind of a bit of a lost edge here. And now we go back to this, and then we solidify some of these and simplify the anatomy, even though it's a complex body. What you want to do is you want to simplify everything so that it's not super lumpy bumpy. There's no reason to have lumpy bumps on everything. You're thinking about the design, but the design of the human body, the anatomy and how it works, what you're seeing, very important. You have to not ignore what you're seeing. Don't just draw what you know, draw what you see in combination with what you know. And simplify, simplify, simplify. Now I'm starting to make less. I started off with very simple versions of the shadow shapes, and now I'm starting to add a little bit more direct. I think I'm kind of done. I actually feel as if this is going longer than I want. Now it feels like I got way too much time. And there's my timer. So as you can see, I got a lot more done this time around. 5 minutes. So we have a lost edge here, and any kind of decision here isn't super organic. I'm just simplifying. Now I could, and I have friends who really go in and do this extremely organic. I like to simplify a design. So this is a 5-minute pose. It looks a little bit more finished than the 3-minute poses, but I'm happy with the exaggeration here. Okay, I think it's time to change the pose, and we're going to work on the next one. Okay, so another 5 minutes. Let me turn on the timer, and here we go. So I start with the head, and there is kind of, I see like this kind of shape that here we have the neck to the pit of the neck, but it just seems to me like there's this the torso shape makes this kind of envelope with a with a negative space about-ish here. All of this is just guesswork as I try to capture the power, and then let's exaggerate. Let's try to push this, arch this back more even, and then go down. We're artists, not photographers. We want to capture what we see, but we want to interpret it. And then maybe my proportions are off here, so I have this kind of graphic shape, graphic design here, and then this leg actually comes back here instead, putting it in the wrong spot. But see, I have this, it's a graphic placement of everything, but I'm also trying really hard to exaggerate and give it a little bit more energy and power. And now that I have this kind of pit of the neck here, I'm going to make an adjustment. I think it's a little bit higher, and I'm going to add a center line, and this is the center line here, so like this leg starts back here. And then I want to make sure that I'm thinking about these things in 3 dimensions. Here's the shoulders. And then we have a very quick indication of the direction of the face, the hair, something that the other figure drawing we did with the lady with the mask did not have. And now I'm going to speed things up a bit by kind of doing the same thing with the values here. We have this, we have values here like this. And by speed things up, I mean that sometimes when you add value, and I'm looking for these kind of graphic shapes, and I'm also looking for a simplification here of the planes. That's one of the things that I add the value for, is just so that I could very quickly indicate. It's kind of like I'm making a box out of everything. This side gets light, this side does not get light. And what it does is it kind of creates a box, some boxy 3-dimensional shapes for my head. In my head, I'm seeing these as boxes, and so when I come in and I do the figure drawing, the line work, the anatomy, I'm actually the values that I put in help me see these things in 3 dimensions. I'm also sticking with trying to draw mostly straight lines with a couple of curves in and around. And why straight lines most of the time? Because straight lines give you a little bit more control, and what they do is that they give you beauty. The body, the human body, is made out of all kind of soft, except for here where there's a bone sticking out, but everything is so soft that if you over soften everything, what you end up doing is making the body seem very lumpy, bumpy, wavy, and not solid at all. Like it's just there's just too much wavy. You lose any kind of structure. In other words, that's what I'm trying to say. Is like when you put as much straight lines as possible, it gives you much more structure than you would otherwise. And that's my 5 minutes. I didn't get as far as I wanted to this time around. But I did get some indication as to where I wanted. Like probably should have put some done that just for the hair, but that's it. That's the figure that I got done in 5 minutes. This was a little bit more complicated than the other one, where half the figure was in shadow, lost in shadow, and I had very simple lines here that I could just get away with when it came to drawing the rest of the body. In this one, there was a little bit more complex thing. We have overlapping shapes. We want to make sure that these lines that we're putting in travel across, like this line here. I wanted it to connect to this, and then here, this line here, it pinches here, and it connects and goes around, it wraps around. And I was trying really hard to push this arch way more, exaggerate it way more, and it is more exaggerated, but it also I think captures the pose much better than the actual real pose that we had there. And the values, they're simple. It's just one straight line all the way across, as if it was a box. Once I have this general graphic, boxy kind of value shapes put together, I could then go in and start defining and refining these a little bit more as I have more time. So I would come in here and I would just add a little bit more value here, just make sure that this is a much more definitive line. But I just don't have that kind of time. Sometimes there is that it's better just to generalize first and then come back and then add a little bit of finesse than to spend all your time trying to be all perfect and then you don't get as much done. Like, this is much more it feels much more complete than it would if I was just trying to make every meticulous detail on everything. And then I would go in and you pick and choose your battles, right? All right, so that's it. That was my 5 minutes. So hopefully you got a lot out of this. I'm going to continue doing these again. I'm going to release another 3 minute and another 5 minute, and again, every single one of these is different. Every single one of these has a different challenge, different approach, different things to think about. And I'm trying my best to talk about my thinking process so that you could understand how I'm approaching these things, and kind of demystify some of this process and this is an approach to figure drawing. This isn't the approach. This is just me, the way that I approach it, based on the 10 figure drawing teachers that I've had over the years, 10 to 13 to I don't know how many I had, but this is years and years and years and years of figure drawing teachers and figure drawing classes. It's a hodgepodge of a lot of different teachers, a lot of different learning, a lot of different approaches. So and in spite of all that, I still fail, right? I still mess up. So because figure drawing, you'll never get good at it. It's like it's the practice that keeps on giving, because no matter how good you get, you could always learn more, because because figures are so challenging that at some point you're still just going to mess up. Okay, so it's the art form that keeps on giving when it comes to trying to learn and improve and get better, and from learning from it. So I'm far from being a master of figure drawing, but I'm willing to share where I'm at and how I'm at, and hopefully this will help you when you're approaching your figure drawings. Okay, so thanks a lot for watching. Hopefully you got a lot out of this, and I will talk to you next time. All right, bye.